So my most recent paper is working with Lauren McCarthy at Royal Holloway, and it's on No More Page 3. The main element that we're most excited about is bringing to life the story of the No More Page 3 movement, and specifically in relation to what sustains the emotional energy of campaigners.
Now, Page 3 was known as a kind of British institution, and it featured a picture of a topless woman printed every day in the Sun newspaper. So for some people, this was a kind of funny symbol of Britishness, and for others, this was a institutionalized figure of sexism in the UK media. No More Page 3 started life as an e-petition and then garnered lots of support, mainly in social media spaces, but also the group performed lots of stunts and protests in the offline world as well. One of our really interesting findings was that the activists on the campaign really drew on their experiences of being women to fuel their campaigning.
Who we are as an individual, our identity is so deeply entwined within the institution that we want to change, that this often means that campaign efforts are very much emotional. There's this emotional energy that needs to be sustained if we want to campaign and we want to make change.
But also what we found was that sometimes, because we can't stop being a man or a woman or transgender, it means that we need time out. We need other ways of refueling energy. You can't just keep going back for more and more.
There was this focus on retreat, being alone, taking time to heal.
For an online campaign, that might look like going silent in a Facebook debate. It might look like shutting down your account.
The point was that they were rejuvenated through this process and they were able to come back stronger.
It sounds quite simple, but often this is seen as defeat. And actually, we should recognise that it is an actual political strategy to keep campaigning moving forward.
So the literature to date has really focused on the idea of effective solidarity, which means that in order for campaign efforts to be sustained, we take energy from one another. Now, this was an important part of our finding, as well as the notion of retreat. But what we found was that solidarity was used in an interesting online context where individuals passed on the baton, so to speak, when they couldn't continue. So they would tag other individuals into posts, or they would use some form of online chat to enable others to jump into the conversation on their behalf.
One of the learnings from our paper for campaigning groups in particular is where people are often drawing on their own identity, their own bodily experience to generate that energy. They will need the space and the opportunity to take time out.
It can also be related to just day-to-day work. Think about how interconnected we are at the moment. We are online all the time. Taking that step away is sometimes so important.
The other thing that is very, very useful is to think about creating separate, safer spaces using different social media platforms. So our activists had secret messenger threads where they could talk to each other in the midst of a particularly heated debate. They could go to this separate space, tag in requests for others, get help from other activists to say, do you have the statistic? Do you have some data? And so really utilising the different tools that social media platforms provide to actually enable them to keep campaigning.
We often, as women, experience a huge amount of inequality offline, and these tensions are only amplified and exaggerated online. What we've seen is the way in which social media can be a safe space and helps individuals to mobilize collectively. But I think that there's a lot more that platforms can do to tackle and police hate speech to make these places much safer.
Also really underlies the importance of having managers and business leaders supporting this same process within organisations, particularly for women or people of colour who are maybe striving for increased diversity and inclusion.